The divisional round of the playoffs are quickly approaching, and the Kansas City Chiefs are entering these playoffs at 15-2, tied for the best record in the entire NFL, though we saw one of those teams with an impressive record, the Vikings, fall in miserable fashion during Wild Card weekend. But the question has been raised, what is the Kansas City Chiefs' biggest question going into this divisional round of the playoffs? In an article titled NFL Divisional Round Biggest Immediate Questions for Advancing/Eliminated Playoff Teams by Jeffrey Chadiha, which, by the way, this whole time I thought his name was Jeffrey Chahida. It was not until I typed it into this document here I knew it was Chadiha. Anyway, we get the following introduction, and then we will get what he says about the Kansas City Chiefs. There's no need to sugarcoat this one. Wildcard weekend didn't provide much suspense. 5 of the 6 games ended in double-digit victories, with none of those being losing teams scoring more than 14 points. The Commanders-Buccaneers matchup on Sunday night, a game that ended with Washington kicker Zane Gonzalez banking a 37-yard field goal in for the 23-20 win, was the only tight contest. So, what did we learn over the last couple days? The first lesson was that the Bills, Eagles, Ravens are exactly as good as we initially expected. Those squads stormed right through their opponents in ways that suggested all three are ready to make a hard run at the Super Bowl. As good as the top seeds are in both conferences, the Lions and Chiefs better not be thinking a week of rest and home field advantage is all it takes to slay these heavyweights in a win-or-go-home situation. The losing teams also taught us a few things. The Broncos and Chargers have bright futures, but the bright lights of the postseason were a little too harsh for those squads. The Steelers just can't figure out how to elevate their level of play in the playoffs. The criticisms awaiting young quarterbacks like Justin Herbert and Jordan Love will also feel unfair. They're not, but it's the byproduct of making a career at that position. The addition of the first read will touch on all of these topics. The teams that are advancing to the divisional rounds and those that are heading home for the offseason all face significant questions. Here is the most pressing issue for each. Here's one thing I want to say before we even get into the discussion about the Chiefs. It is absolutely wild. I did not realize until the past couple of days, it really doesn't feel like the season has started yet. We make jokes, and Nick Wright has made the point that the Kansas City Chiefs season does not start until the divisional round of the playoffs. For 3 years now, I have made the point that the Kansas City Chiefs play NFL football as if they were an NBA team. The regular season does not matter. This is the first time I remember I was not interested in any other football teams until the postseason. I didn't care what anybody was doing during the regular season. It didn't matter to me, and I don't think that's just because I was covering the Kansas City Chiefs every day on this channel. I just had zero interest until really the playoffs started. Then I looked around at the games and thought, oh, well, that'll be interesting. Well, I have an opinion on this one. But I just didn't care, guys. That is the level of spoiled that we are here in Kansas City. I didn't realize it. That it was not until the playoffs I was even interested in the rest of the games. AFC playoff teams, seed 1, Kansas City Chiefs 15-2. The question for the Chiefs, will all that rest be a good or bad thing? Then Chadiha writes, the Chiefs haven't played a meaningful game since they beat Pittsburgh on Christmas Day to clinch the top seed in the AFC. Kansas City sat its most essential starters in the season-ending loss to Denver and then relaxed during the first-round bye. Essentially, by the time Saturday's Houston-Kansas City comes around, the Chiefs will have essentially enjoyed 23 days of rest. It's worth wondering if all that time off will result in a sluggish start against the Texans. But in the notorious words of the Chiefs head coach Andy Reid, that's just not how this team rolls. For one thing, Kansas City needed the bye as much as any team in the postseason. Quarterback Patrick Mahomes finished the season with a high ankle sprain. All-Pro defensive tackle Chris Jones didn't even play against Pittsburgh because of a calf strain. And there are multiple stars on this team over the age of 30, including tight end Travis Kelce, wide receiver DeAndre Hopkins, and All-Pro guard Joe Thuney, who's been playing left tackle over the past month. Kansas City's regular season bye came in Week 6. You're damn right they loved not playing in the wild card round. Just as important to note is Reid's record when coming off a bye. It's 29-3. The man knows how to use the extra time to prepare his team for whatever challenges the next opponent might create. That doesn't mean crazy things can't happen, as the Chiefs are about to play a rematch against a Texans team that can cause a lot of problems defensively. It simply means it's a foolish idea to bet against this team not being ready to play. Kansas City has won 3 Super Bowls in 5 years for a reason. That is correct. And one thing that I will note, JoeH made a point to mention that the Kansas City Chiefs have multiple starters, Travis Kelce, Chris Jones, Joe Thuney over 30. Not Chris Jones, DeAndre Hopkins over 30. Guys, that's pretty much it. Like, the Chiefs are in an interesting position because they are a fairly young team, but they have a ton of experience, particularly in the playoffs. One interesting way to conceive of this is Patrick Mahomes is playing in his 8th season in the NFL. Patrick Mahomes is nearing a decade-long NFL career. A quarterback drafted after Patrick Mahomes has never won the Super Bowl. Fact check me on it. Maybe I overlooked something. A quarterback drafted after Patrick Mahomes has never won the Super Bowl. You had 2 Tom Bradys. You had Matt Stafford. You had 3 Patrick Mahomeses. There must be somebody else in there, right? No, this would be the... Anyway, I can't think of it off the top of my head, but the fact remains, I think. A quarterback drafted after Patrick Mahomes has never won the Super Bowl. There's no one in the NFL right now with more playoff experience than these Kansas City Chiefs, despite the fact that many of them are so young. Patrick Mahomes, should he win versus the Texans, will tie Joe Montana for the second most playoff wins of all time. Now, number 1 is Tom Brady with an incredible amount of playoff games. But should the Chiefs beat the Texans, Patrick Mahomes becomes tied for number 2 all time in playoff wins. He's not even 30. Does Patrick Mahomes strike you as a guy who is going to call it an NFL career early? It seems to me that he wants to be the greatest of all time. So the Chiefs, has all of this rest been a good thing? Yes, they know how to use it. They were dinged up all the livelong season. It means that they are... The window for Jalen Watson to return has been opened. It is possible that Jalen Watson could return for the Super Bowl, which means the Chiefs will have had 2 players, Isaiah Pacheco and Jalen Watson, during the course of this season, and Hollywood Brown, 3 players. 3 players. Jalen Watson, Hollywood Brown, Isaiah Pacheco, all return from catastrophic injuries. All return from injuries that normally end seasons. But Hollywood Brown was hurt so early. Jalen Watson and Isaiah Pacheco came back so fast that they're going to be able to play again this year. The NFL season is long now, very long now. 17 games, one game longer than it used to be. That makes a big difference when you're talking about playing 50 snaps per week. Do the Kansas City Chiefs benefit from having basically a month off of football? From meaningful football? Yes, they do. Because everyone else in the playoffs has had to play straight through that gamut. If you watched that Ravens game, you can't tell me Lamar Jackson ended that game as spry as he entered it. Exited that game as spry as he entered it. These hits are cumulative. Do you think that in the past 4 weeks, Chris Jones forgot how to play football? I don't. I don't at all. And Chris Jones is not going to have to play from week 6 through the Super Bowl should the Chiefs get there. He's having basically a end of the season vacation. The 4 weeks that Chris Jones will have been off are going to do nothing to his football skills. Maybe you could argue conditioning a little bit, but he's not a marathon runner. He's a defensive tackle. He's not running all of those steps that wide receivers run. He's a defensive tackle. He's going to be in shape. He knows what he has to do. The year that he held out, last year when he held out, he came back in shape. He played the final week of the regular season to get his $1 million sack, or was it $500,000, whatever it was. He played that final week of the season and was not just good through the playoffs, was a game wrecker all the way through the playoffs. Are the Kansas City Chiefs benefiting from 2 bye weeks, giving you nearly a month free from the nicks and cuts and hits and harsh stops of the game of football? Yes. And they're going to be hosting the playoffs so long as they are in them. And I don't know about you guys, but I've been walking around Kansas City this whole time. It has been very, very cold. That is something that wears on teams differently. Now, the Texans are not used to the cold. Should the Kansas City Chiefs beat the Texans, it will be either Buffalo or Baltimore. Both of those teams know something about the cold. But the Kansas City Chiefs will still have the home field advantage, and they will be coming off 2 bye weeks before that. So I think that this entire question of will the Kansas City Chiefs be hurt by the time off? I think it's a silly question. If you were talking about the Texans, I would give you the benefit of the doubt. I would entertain that argument. If you were talking about one of these other teams, the Washington Commanders with a young quarterback, I would give you the benefit of the doubt. I would entertain that question. Who in the NFL has as much playoff experience as do these Kansas City Chiefs? There's no one. There's no one. That is all I have for this video. If you like or appreciate what it is that I do here, hitting the like button really does help me out, as it tells YouTube to share this video with other Kansas City Chiefs fans. If you find yourself here by chance but not design, the Chiefs are the only thing I talk about on this channel, dropping multiple videos every single week, and I hope to have you back for the next one.